As everyone in the world already knows, the two superhero story powerhouses are Marvel and DC Comics. Now, despite a lot of fans spending their time hating each other for some reason, both companies, despite their rivalry, are actually on pretty good terms. So much so that they've crossed over many times before, and now for the first time in over 2 decades, they are crossing over once again in Deadpool Batman, which will continue in a few months with Batman Deadpool, which is a very similar name, but they're different enough, I guess. But before I talk about this latest comic, please indulge me and allow me to talk about some of the other previous Marvel and DC crossovers, just so we can get the history up until now. The big crossover that most people are familiar with is DC versus Marvel. That comic series, it pit both worlds against each other for some big superhero battles. And I thought it was okay. It was nice to see them cross over, but there's more they could have done with it than just having them fight for the most part, you know, and I think that's actually what Deadpool Batman does really well, but I'll get to that in a little bit. DC vs. Marvel did lead to the creation of the very short-lived Amalgam comics, in which DC and Marvel merged their characters into some very weird, forgettable newcomers, but yeah, they were weird and forgettable. Besides that, there have been crossovers between Superman and the Fantastic Four, the X-Men and Titans, Batman and Spider-Man, Batman and Daredevil, Batman and Punisher, and probably a lot of others involving Batman because he's Batman. As for the last crossover between both companies before this new one right here, it was JLA Avengers from 2003. And apparently, it's canon to both the Marvel and DC universes. But they're always retconning things, so who actually knows or really cares all that much? Alright, let's get to some present day stuff, which you're actually here for. The latest crossover between Marvel and DC, featuring Deadpool and Batman. I'm not here to spoil what the story's actually about, but the gist of it is that the Joker, he hires Deadpool to come to Gotham and mess with Batman. It's pretty simple, it leads to some hijinks, but it's fun, so that's what's more important here. However, it's not just Deadpool and Batman that cross over in this story. There are many backup stories in this, very short backup stories, pairing Marvel and DC characters that haven't interacted in decades, if at all. Among these backup stories includes Daredevil and Green Arrow, written by Kevin Smith, who had previously written stories for them. It's an interesting, unexpected crossover, but it makes sense when you know the context of who's writing this story, and unexpected crossovers are cool, you know? We get a brief but funny crossover between the Green Lanterns and the Guardians of the Galaxy, in which Rocket Raccoon causes mayhem as an honorary Green Lantern. Krypto the Superdog and Jeff the Landshark, some standout good boys from their respective franchises, they get a fun little crossover too. Captain America and Wonder Woman, they actually get a really heartfelt crossover, which starts off with them in this sort of interesting team-up where she convinces him not to kill Hitler. Yeah, you heard me right. Wonder Woman stops Captain America from killing Hitler because he should face justice. I don't know about you guys, but maybe you should kill Hitler and just fascists in general. And don't forget, fascism, it doesn't just come out of nowhere. It's a slow rise to power through small yet not insignificant breaches of our human rights. Just something to think about for no particular reason at all. Most interestingly, however, among all these different crossovers, is that we actually get introduced to a brand new Amalgam character named Logo. A very dumb name, but it's a combination of Lobo and Wolverine, whose real name is Logan. This is the first Amalgam character in years, and it has some interesting implications when you think about them making a new character like this. So what does all this mean for the future for both companies? Well, I think the fact that they made this new Amalgam character, they've re-released a bunch of older crossovers, updated omnibuses for them, that they are willing to do a new crossover story here, and that James Gunn, who previously worked on many Marvel projects over the years, is currently in charge of DC Studios. I think all this means that the relationship between the two companies is probably better than it's ever been. And I imagine that if this comic sells well, and the one later this year, in I believe November, we will most likely see new crossovers in the future. Who's to say, you know, in the future we don't get crossovers in like the form of TV shows or series or video games or movies? Just because it hasn't really been done before doesn't mean it's impossible, you know? The possibilities are exciting. I'm also excited to hear what your thoughts are on this new crossover, any past crossovers, ideas for future crossovers that you might have or might think that Marvel and DC could do in the future. Whatever comes to mind, let me know in the comments below. Share this video with somebody who might be interested in it. Subscribe if you haven't for more videos like this and different kinds of stuff that I do, and I will see you all next time. Until then, take care.